Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Just this side of the room. Shabbat Shalom. How about over here? Shabbat Shalom. And now everybody. Shabbat Shalom. We can all start clapping our hands too. At home now. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Yinei matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Yinei matov
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Happy 2022.
There you go.
One of my favorite things about Judaism is that we get Rosh Hashanah, and then we get to do it again. Just in case all that stuff didn't stick, you get to have I think of New Year's as like a check-in on everything that you worked on over the high holy days. Like, how am I doing it? Did I forget? Oh, I better get to it because time is ticking. So happy 2022. It's going to be a year. Hopefully a good one. Hopefully a good one. So with it being a year, as everyone who is anyone in the world knows, we are now wrapped up in this new surge of COVID concern. So we are back to reminding. Look at everybody doing such a beautiful, here, instead of doing a reminder, Rabbi Khan, I'm just going to compliment everybody on doing such a great job of sitting with their household.
Look how nice.
Having masks all the way up from the top of their nose to their bottom of their I haven't said that in a long time.
They're their own example.
You are your own example. So thank you for following all of our protocols. Thank you for being here. Thank you for registering for services, all of that wonderful stuff. So with that, let's welcome Shabbat with light, because the way we get more brightness and more light is by offering our light. Do you want to light the candles? Wonderful. Thank you. turn to page 20, but just a few more notes of introduction before we do. I want to recognize that we've changed things a little, so our numbers are a little bit different. So want to once again welcome everyone who is here, both in the room, and also recognize that a significant part of our community tonight is with us virtually. And no matter how you're here, we're just glad that you're here. And secondly, another welcome I want to extend to our friend Eric Rendelman and Abby Mead, who's also here with Eric tonight. We are here because yay, we love Eric's drumming, but it's also a little bittersweet because Eric, who has been a full-time participant in work at CBI for 6 years, is moving on to some colder things, which we'll tell you more about in a bit. But we are just grateful that you are here to participate and share your joy and your ruach with us tonight. And we'll say more nice things about you in a bit. All right, so with that, let's turn to page 20 for Lecha Dodi as we welcome Shabbat.
Please be seated. Before we begin with Chetzi Kaddish, sharing these beautiful words of Shachar Avakesh, At dawn, we seek you, our rock and stronghold. We place before you our morning and our evening prayers. Before your greatness, we stand in awe, for your eye sees all of our thoughts. What can heart and tongue do, and what is our spirit's strength within us? Behold, our human song will gain your favor, and therefore we affirm you, while yet your spirit lives within us. Chatzi Kaddish 144.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ועלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו יהי שמך במבורך לעולם עולם מעלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן.
Let's all stand together now for Baruch 146. Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam thanks to God for this evening and the beautiful, beautiful evening sky. I love it after it rains because we can see so much more, even with the light pollution. Let's give thanks for that beautiful starry night that is existing above us and all around us. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, u'vitvuna meshaneh itim, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. הוא מעביר יום ומביא לילה, הוא מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. Please join me on the bottom of 151. Torah is what God has revealed to us and what we discern of God, ideas and ideals, laws and mitzvot, our religious heritage. It unfolds our memories of Abraham and Sarah, of Moses and Miriam and the prophets. It is legislation and explanation, allowing questions that challenge, answers that inspire, all a quest for meaning. It is our way of life, a path for our souls, and the design for a better world.
Baruch atah
Baruch
Adonai,
Shemo.
Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Amen. 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai
Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וגשלתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם
Elohim.
אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet. In our Parsha this Shabbat, we read about the final plagues, and then, of course, the Israelites get to leave. And so we're getting very close to the Parsha, where we get to sing the words of Micha Mocha, where Cantor gets to chant in that very special trope, only reserved for the Song of the Sea. So, spoiler alert, that's coming soon. But let's read together on 156 as we prepare for Micha Mocha and prepare for the freedom of our ancestors. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You perform miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude. They accepted you, your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Page 158.
Adonai Imaloch le'olam va'ed. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. ונאמר כי ודע אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל גאל ישראל. יאי לי לי לי. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai.
Page 160, as we prepare for Hashkivenu, we think about one of those plagues in this parsha, the plague of darkness. The rabbi said it was so dark in Egypt, so dark that you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. It was so dark because the Pharaoh's heart had become so hardened that any chance of him ever redeeming himself was gone. And so as we this week consider the darkness which exists around us, the darkness of the pandemic, the darkness as we recognize the first anniversary of that fateful day in our nation's capital, and the darkness of human beings being somewhat aggravated and frustrated to the point of anger, the kind of anger that leads to darkness feeding itself. We think about that plague of darkness. Hashkivenu, this beautiful poem, Piyut, of our rabbis, teaches us that it is always possible for us to lift the darkness. It is always possible to come out on the other side, like we wake up tomorrow morning and the birds are chirping and the sun is shining, that light is within God and therefore light is within us. So let's pray on this Shabbat during this very dark time, that plague of darkness is lifted by our own acts and our own deeds, by that light within us, which is God. Hashkivenu, again, 160. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomrei nu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu what better way to come out of that darkness and lift the darkness than to celebrate this wonderful day of Shabbat, 162. Let's sing the Shamru all together, and we want to hear you at home.
Penei Israel, Oti Leolam, Oti Leolam, Veshamru Penei Israel, Et HaShabbat, Lasot Et HaShabbat, Kedorot HaBerith Olam, Ki Sheishet Yamim Asa Adonai, Asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru bnei Israel et hashabbat לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, Shabbat v'nafesh v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat לדורות הברית עולם v'shamru b'nei Yisrael HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat
Let's turn to page 164 or page 46 and stand together for the Amidah, asking God to open up our lips so that our mouths may declare God's praise. Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor veHanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot,
ומביא גאולה לפני פניכם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Let's be seated and turn to page 175, reading together at the bottom of the page. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai sha'odcha levadcha b'yara na'avod. Let's take this time for our own personal prayers and private reflections.
We ask God to bestow abundant peace upon us. Let us all continue with Shalom Rav on page 178. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hasham.
Let's turn to page 253 or 371 as we think of those who are in need of healing.
May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
As we turn to our thoughts of healing, it feels like all of a sudden there is a redundancy to things that we were saying a year and a half ago, maybe closer to 2 years ago. This idea that all of a sudden this big bad thing is back. This idea that there's a sickness that's out there that we need to be cautious of and careful of, and all of this is true. But what is also true now, that wasn't true before, is the level of exhaustion that we have about this conversation. The idea that we could still be collectively healing from something that should have been over such a long time ago, but isn't. The level of fatigue that we have in taking care of ourselves and one another is all I keep hearing is, I wish it was over. Can we be done? Can we be done? The work of healing doesn't finish. The work of healing for our world, the work of healing for our community, the work of healing of this trauma that we are all collectively experiencing, it doesn't end. We continue to offer one another strength in the times when we notice that our loved one is feeling fatigued, whether it's with this particular journey of healing or any other journey of healing. It is a long journey, it's an exhausting journey, and it is one that makes us feel tired. So in this prayer for healing, it is also a prayer for strength for each one of us who is dealing with this collective trauma of healing, and for those of us individually who are dealing with our own pain and our own suffering, those of us who have strength to share, we give it to you through these words of healing. If there's someone you're thinking of who is in need of healing, I invite you to take this time now, whether you're here in the room or whether you're with us virtually, to either type those names in or offer them out loud at this time. And then we'll continue with the names of our community. We think of Eliza Talia Sara, Bastina Rachel, Stephen Burke, Cassie Black, Stephen Black, Chaim Ben Masha, Christine Kobo, Colette Critchfield, Megan Geronimi, Shirley Oberfield, Glenn Spencer, Lori Rose Van Zyl Stewart, Addison Thompson, Phyllis Tragathon, Jack Waitkiss, Jim Willett, and Helene Miracle.
Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say
Continue on page 376 or 258 with a prayer for our country. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. We continue with a prayer for the state of Israel. Sha'alu shlom Yerushalayim yishla'u ohavayich. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. I want to share with you a little teaching from the Talmud. There are rabbis arguing, as they often do in the Talmud, and they are arguing about how to bring peace to the world, because not even that is something that we can agree on, clearly. They are arguing about how to bring peace to the world, and one rabbi says, well, it will be through banaich, through our children. Our children will bring peace to the world. And one of the other rabbis who's participating in this conversation says, no, that's not what it says. It says bonaich, because you know in Hebrew there's no vowels, right? So the rabbis like to play with the vowels and make it change the word's meaning. It doesn't say banaich. It's not the children who are going to bring peace to the world. It's bonaich, our builders, who are going to bring peace to the world. And then, of course, the teaching here is that our children are our builders. And there is no one who knows this. There is no one who understands this. Oh gosh, I'm getting emotional already. Than our friend and our teacher, Eric Rendelman. So I know that the crowd I am speaking with right now is not necessarily in every circumstance the crowd who necessarily knows Eric very well. You've seen him drumming, you've maybe heard people talk about him. Some of you know him very well from camp and have had the opportunity to get to know him through his work with our youth. But I'm going to use my own children as an example so you can understand why those of us who are emotional tonight are emotional. So first of all, I first met Eric when I came up for camp admin weekend, and I didn't even work here yet. I was just up for the weekend to get to know camp, get to know Rabbi Khan, get to know what was going on here. And it was time for services, and everyone says, wait, where's Eric? I'm like, who's Eric? I'm here. I'm the rabbi now. I had my guitar. I was all ready to go. And then this guy with a man bun and like a flannel shirt walked in with a drum under his arm. I'm like, who's this guy? But as soon as he started playing, I felt like I was the best musician in the world. It's like all of a sudden, like my guitar had never sounded better because finally someone was keeping some rhythm. And that was just the first time that Eric and I had the chance to work together, and it was really the beginning of getting to know such an incredible person. But let me tell you about the second time I met Eric, and that was when I found out that Eric was going to be my daughter's preschool teacher. I was like, this is not what I expected a preschool teacher to look like, right? Shame on me for judging. And it wasn't judging in a bad way, because I was delighted that my daughter was going to have this incredible preschool experience. And the first day of school, she came home with a sad news note. What do you call that? Like an FYI. FYI. FYI, your daughter got sent to the office because she needed to establish some boundaries and I think she had her feet on the table during lunch or something like that. But of course, immediately I needed to speak with my daughter. And you became not just her teacher, but also a coach for me and Josh as we helped Kehilah adjust to living in a new place, getting to know her new school, making new friends. And it was in that learning, in that relationship, that I began to see how he could relate to both children and adults in a truly intuitive way. I've got 3 kids, so this is going to take a while. My son Charlie went to camp for the first time this summer, and before camp, we set up an ice cream date. Charlie was a little apprehensive about camp, but Eric went through the map of camp with him and told him how each activity at camp was related to something he could do in Minecraft. He was able to take a kid whose happy place is sitting in front of a computer and get him excited about 2 weeks in the dirt with literally zero technological capability at all. And by the time he was ready to go, he knew he was going to be okay, not because I told him, but because Eric told him. And since then, he's learned to play magic cards. He's learned to play Minecraft with a group of people that Eric put together. And that child, who was so different from the other one, was able to connect to camp, to CBI, to Judaism in a completely new and different way that I never could have done. And now the little one, who knows, some words, when he sees Eric at the front desk, he goes, "Rock and roll!" And then he looks at him and he goes, "Rick." So my sadness here is that that's the only story I have so far to tell about you and Milo. My sadness is that he's not going to be in your preschool class, and you're not going to be his youth advisor. But what I want you to think about, not is the sadness of that, but knowing that every single parent you have interacted with has stories like mine. I am one of, Amy, how many would you guess? Hundreds, who can say each one of my children is different, knows more, is more connected to Judaism and the temple and to camp because of this guy and his man bun and his drum, but his teaching and his intuition and his essence of seeing each, not child, but each person as a builder, as a building block of this community, and helping them find the way that they can participate in their own special and unique way. And it is extraordinary, and it is rare. And we also know that, Eric, you too are someone who needs to build. You need to build the building blocks of the life that you all are building together. And part of growing up is making hard choices. And so for those of you who don't know, Eric is going to be taking over the family business and pushing Kona Ice to all of our kids, because it's now going to become the, not hot treat, but like the cool treat, because get it? Because it's, of all the birthday parties, because we know that all the kids are going to want to see Eric at their parties. That's how they're finally going to get you to come to their birthday parties, right? To enjoy Kona Ice. And you all are building something of your own. And you know that this place is a building block of that life that you built. That this place is a part of you and a part of your home, and all of these kids, all of these families who have these stories of the ways that you changed them, they're a part of your building blocks too. So you may be going off to new things, but you're not going far. And we are so grateful to everything you have given us. And so what I am hoping for now is the opportunity for Eric to teach all of you. So we invite you to share tonight some words of Torah.
Oy vey, here we go. Shabbat Shalom. You know, the first time that I stood before this community, I talked about, for those of you Genesis fans, Parshat Vayigash, which is the moment in the Torah where in the land of Egypt, Joseph reveals himself to his brothers, and they reconcile this very long and complicated family history together. As with tonight, it was a very significant moment for me because I was 13. I was having my bar mitzvah right here, actually right over in the chapel. And what I remembered most from my bar mitzvah was my sense of relief. That all of the preparation, all of the long nights and early mornings spent at the religious school, working with my tutor, that after all of that hard work, I could finally get back to my life outside of CBI. As Rabbi Khan would like to say, spoiler alert, after 4 years of Beth Israel Temple Youth, about 15 summers at Camp Stein, and 6 amazing years teaching at the Channon Preschool and the Habercorn Religious School, I'm starting to get the feeling that I'm not quite ever going to get back to my life outside of CBI, which is fine. And there's great reason for that, because this is the community that has fostered my Jewish identity. And I think that's one thing that we really do best here. It's been such a privilege to provide that sacred service for not just kids, but families for so many years. And in that spirit, I'm thrilled to be back on this bema tonight, delivering just a little bit of what I did every day here for so long. So this week in Torah, as Rabbi Khan let you know, we find the people of Israel witnessing the remainder of the 10 plagues. For any of the preschool kids watching tonight, the Parsha with Pharaoh and the frogs was last week, so I will not be singing this song. I'm terribly sorry about that. So how would we teach this here at CBI if you were one of our learners? Well, if you're a preschooler, you would probably spend this week with me learning about how Pharaoh made a lot of what we refer to in academia as yucky choices. But maybe you're an older student. Maybe you came on Sundays or Thursdays to the Habercorn Religious School. Well, we would have a great debate, perhaps talking about how much of the Exodus story is real. Or maybe we would be a little bit more cultural, and we would look at Seder plates and different Passover cuisines, whether you were Ashkenazi or Sephardic or Mizrahi or Ladino. And maybe you were one of our teens, the ones who really stuck it out long after their bar bat mitzvah and came here every Thursday night. We would go a lot more in depth, and we would maybe have a quick debate and a deep dive on, how can a God who destroys an entire nation with righteous fury, be great and be good and someone who we celebrate. And we would maybe use that time to look at all the moments in the Torah that, as you all learn growing up and learning more about the Jewish journey, that they're not always so black and white. However, for this congregation tonight, I'm challenged as an educator to think about an entirely different little piece of this parsha. When I was reading the text and listening to the dialogues between God and Moses, the conversations between him, Aaron, and Pharaoh, and all of the miracles that get packed into this pretty tiny section of Torah, I couldn't help think how little account is included in that parsha of the everyday Israelites who were there to witness it. Because this is said to be one of the greatest moments in Jewish history, a moment in time where the God of our ancestors physically intervened on our behalf. I as an educator, I'm curious how the Israelites of Goshen explained what was going on to their kids. In a world where we too find ourselves having to explain extraordinary and difficult times to our youngest, I wondered how our ancestors managed to explain such darkness to the youngest in their community. Perhaps like us, they too needed to rely on their teachers to do the heavy lifting, to translate our most difficult moments in ways that our children could make sense of. And that's been my role here at CBI for many years, to explain the Jewish story again and again, its ups, its downs, its joys, and its sorrows, in ways that our youngest can understand. Whether it's the origins of our rituals, the history of American Judaism, or the complexities of the Holocaust, the state of Israel, I've always worked hard to meet our kids exactly where they're at, to make sure that their version of Judaism is relational and relevant. And as I move on to a new chapter of my life, it's something I hope we do here at Beth Israel for many years to come. I wanted to end my thoughts tonight by reflecting on what our community has meant to me and thanking the countless people who deserve a lot of my gratitude. But I struggled to find the right words to really express how I was feeling. So I figured, why not borrow words from somebody else? That's something that I was always happy to do. So when I first began working with children, which was a long time ago, I think I was 16 the first year I started working aftercare at the Channing Preschool, I looked back on my own childhood and I realized I had a really specific source of inspiration and somebody who I really thought embodied the best of educators and those who work with children. That person is Fred Rogers, who you may know more fondly as Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So, as I learned later in college, in 1997, he received his Lifetime Achievement Award for his work on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And when he came to give his acceptance speech, he said something that moved the entire audience. And because it inspired me so deeply and I've carried it with me so long, I figured why not just repeat it tonight to this group? Because I think it's going to say things better than I ever could. So, he said, "Oh, it's a beautiful night in this neighborhood. So many people have helped me come to this night. Some of you are here, some of you are far away, and some of you are even in heaven. All of us have special ones who have loved us into being. Would you just take, along with me, 10 seconds to think of the people who have helped you become who you are? Those who have cared about you and wanted what was best for you in your life. Just 10 seconds of silence. I will watch the time." Whomever you've been thinking about, how pleased they must be to know the difference you feel that they've made. Shabbat Shalom.
Eric is one of the people who was in the room with you in the chapel for your bar mitzvah. It's, you know that feeling when one of the kids that's your student kind of grows up before your eyes and then they start to use the lexicon, the language that you used? So that's the feeling that I'm having. And it's not because it's a reflection on me or on Ronnie Keller or on Stacy Rosenthal. It's because it's who you are. I learned a lot about you this last summer at camp. We gave Eric, and Eric accepted the job of being sort of involved with and in charge of overseeing what we typically call camper care. And we knew that it was going to be a rough summer because a lot of kids have been home, not socializing. And you read a lot about how hard the pandemic was on children, on teens, but we experienced it at camp. We saw campers, quite frankly, who were suffering in ways that we had never seen before. And like I said, we expected them to be having a tough time. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to throw them in a cabin with 12, 13, 14 other kids, give them a little social structure, give them social interaction again. And literally, because they hadn't experienced it, they missed a year of development in their life. We gave Eric, and Eric accepted an impossible task. Impossible not because Eric wasn't fully capable of, as Rabbi Mason Barkin said earlier, saying the right words, using the right words, being relational, but because of the impact of their pain on Eric. We saw this other side behind the scenes of what an empath is. And Rabbi Mason Barkin's right. There are a few people who are able to tie together the relational and the educational and the teacher and the wisdom and the knowledge and connect with kids in the way that you did. But what I saw was your struggle and your pain and your perseverance. And like Moses, who was also given an impossible task of leading, can you imagine, Gavarten, 602,000 Jewish people. And we learn in Torah about his pain and his struggle and his empathy. You know, Moses is called the most humble Jew in history. He was so humble, and part of humility is empathy, being able to really take yourself and let others' feelings permeate your own spirit and your own soul. And like Moses, in this impossible task that he had, and then the impossible task that you had, and I've known you a long time, to see how that impacted you personally. It didn't give me great joy to experience watching you feel what they were feeling, but it gave me great joy to know that you persevered and you made a difference. And I don't mean to sound melodramatic either, because you don't know this yet, but you probably saved lives. And we won't know that for 5, 10, 15 years. So I want to tell you how kvelling isn't the right word, but how much we kvel to see you master the art of relational Judaism. That you've mastered the ability, like Moses, to see, as Rabbi said, the person and the soul, and to allow them into your own soul. That is a unique talent. It's beyond what we call menschlichkeit. It's the ability to see others through the eyes of God. And so we are so very blessed to know you and to know that we had a small part in your growth of mind and body and spirit. Makes us all, even in this crazy time, feel an exceptional amount of grace and thanks to God. And so for those of you who, as Rabbi said, were not able to see the magic of the arc of Eric's life thus far, I really wish that you could hear and feel what I'm speaking about and watching and knowing what it was that Eric was able to do for our campers and our staff during the most difficult time in their lives. And know that a man of great empathy and wisdom and knowledge is a product of our community and is going to now go into this next step and do great things. Don't ever lose your ability to feel empathy, even though it comes with a very dark side to it sometimes. Don't ever lose your soul, which, I don't know, since you were 7 or 8 years old, I have seen develop, but at the same time stay the same. And don't ever lose your passion for teaching, your passion for connection, your passion and excitement in giving and sharing new information with others, because that is magical. And so we know you're not going very far. And we share this nachas tonight with Sharon and Michael and Kelsey and the girls, but we wanted to just send you off on this brief journey to your new responsibilities with our blessings. You've grown very much into the cantor's heart and into Rabbi Mason Barkin's heart, and I'm so glad that Amy Gavarten, our preschool principal, is with us as well. So we're going to ask Amy to join us on the bima. You don't have to say anything in Hebrew. And we're going to invite you in front of the ark so that we can ask for God's blessings on you from our hearts to yours. Everyone, please stand as the Aron HaKodesh is open. Those of you at home can stand as well. And it is a pleasure to welcome Amy Gavarten. For those of you who don't spend a lot of time in the preschool, she is our principal extraordinaire. How'd you like to run a preschool during a pandemic, huh?
I do it.
How about those Jewish parents? Okay. And I'm not kidding. Like Moses, okay? Come stand with me. You're part of the blessing. You're one of us. No, you're on the clergy side. Okay. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and may God keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's countenance be lifted upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom.
As you step into this next part of the journey, may you always feel God's presence within you, and may you always be blessed with the peace that those children bring to the world because you built them.
V'yasem lecha shalom, v'yasem lecha shalom, shalom,
Amen. Siman tov und mazel tov, siman tov und mazel tov, siman tov und mazel tov, siman tov, Kehilah. Siman tov und mazel tov, siman tov und mazel tov, siman tov und mazel tov, siman tov, Kehilah.
We're so happy that Jackie Cohen, our past president, is with us tonight to share some Shabbat announcements. Let me just make sure. There you go.
So I feel very fortunate because there's another board member that was supposed to be on the Bema tonight, and I volunteered to take their spot. So now I could say maybe a couple sentences to Eric, because I have also known him pre all this when his hair was a lot longer. And I'm just going to share with you my very quick perspective is that my relationship is through my children. I have a personal one too, but through my children, through camp many years ago. And I will say that I am not the only parent of my children who are now grown adults age, that your ability to be a friend and a mentor, yet walk that fine line of being a leader and have authority and command respect and have continual relationships is everlasting to them. So you have made such an impression, I know, on my children, let alone many of their age range. You know all the kiddos I'm talking about. They're not kids anymore. I still call them kids. So I just want to say thank you. And personally, I hope at least maybe you'll come back for a Purim spiel, because nobody can do a voice like Eric. I'm just saying. So, all right. The announcements. So Torah study tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and Shabbat services at 10 a.m. in person, and as always, will be available via Zoom, Torah study, and YouTube, Facebook Live for services. If you are joining us for the first time or viewing services outside of the Valley of the Sun, please feel free to introduce yourselves virtually in the comment section below on YouTube or on Facebook so that we can wish you a special Shabbat Shalom. Join Rabbi Mason Barkin and the CBI book group in reading Colum McCann's extraordinary novel, oh boy, A Paragon? Oh, A Paragon. You're giving me hard words to pronounce. A Paragon. We will gather for discussion on Tuesday, January 18th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Our sofer or scribe will be making a third visit to CBI on Sunday, January 23rd. Please note all the scribe times have been filled for this date, but March and April scribe time sign-up links can be found on the CBI website. From personal experience, it was one of the most influential Jewish moments I've ever had in my life. It was awesome. Everybody should sign up. Join us Friday, January 28th for Ruach Shabbat featuring the klezmer rock group Mostly Kosher and the Congregational Shabbat dinner following services. Registration link can be found in the weekly newsletter. And the Centennial trip to Israel scheduled for June 6th through June 17th, 2022. The informational meeting Wednesday, January 12th at 7 p.m. in the Roth Family Chapel. Please, pardon me? Oh, it's in here. It's in here. And see Rabbi Khan after services or contact him this week for more information. Do not forget to add to your calendars the Hallelujah Centennial concert on Sunday, February 27th, 2022 at 4:30 at the Madison Center for the Arts. Cantor Edinger will assemble an event which will feature the music and choral programs of the Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church, Mountain View Presbyterian Church, and community-wide Jewish choir. Tickets are on sale now, and of course, if you're interested in joining the choir, Please see Cantor Ettinger after the service, and I believe you can also view it via Zoom. Save the date for March 4th through 6th, 2022 for the annual CBI Family Retreat at Camp Daisy and Harry Stein. Contact Jennifer Walker for any questions and to register. And that we ask that you please read the revised COVID guidelines and protocols that were sent out to the congregation via email on Thursday, January 6th. We will continue our pre-registration process for all services, programs, and events, and will be limiting services to 50 attendees who have been fully vaccinated, and we will continue to wear masks while inside the synagogue buildings and while maintaining social distancing and staying within your household pods while in the sanctuary. And thank you, everybody, for doing that tonight. I did not have to police anybody. And we thank you for helping us to ensure our members, our clergy, and staff may worship and work in a safe and healthy environment. And I think Rabbi Mason Barkin has something to say about a Lunch and Learn announcement. So I will say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
So just one quick one before turning it back over to Rabbi Kahn. Thank you, Jackie. We are in the midst of our Lunch and Learn series. We are looking at 50 of the last 100. So our synagogue is 100 years old, and it is the 50th anniversary of the first woman in America to be ordained as a rabbi this year. So we are looking at the history of women in the rabbinate. Last week we looked at kind of some female proto-rabbis. This coming week, we'll be talking a bit about Rabbi Regina Jonas, who was actually the first woman to be ordained as a rabbi. And then next week, we'll be joined at Lunch and Learn by Rabbi Sally Presant, who is the first American woman to be ordained as a rabbi. She's joining us by Zoom. And until the last 15 years, everyone thought she was the first woman to be ordained as a rabbi. And if you want to know why we didn't know about Rabbi Regina, you've got to come this week to hear that story. So Tuesdays at noon, the history of women rabbis. Next week, joined by Rabbi Sally Presant. And then the last week, I'll be presenting my rabbinic thesis on how women have changed the idea of the rabbi as a symbolic exemplar. So it's really fun. We're having a great time. Tuesdays at noon on Zoom. See you there.
So as you can see, we are keeping a very full calendar and look forward to worshiping and being together. I said the meeting on Wednesday will be in this room because we want to limit it to 50 people. But for those of you who came to the first Israel trip meeting in November, you don't need to come again, but you do need to start registering. For the trip, we already have about, half a dozen or so people signed up through our tour company. I will be sharing more information in the coming week because once we get this meeting over, we want to start booking. And I know Israel is not allowing Americans in or whatever rules they had this week that were different than the rules from last week. The only thing I will say is if you want to come to Israel, either in June with me and Cantor or in November with Pilgrim Rest and me and Cantor, I can guarantee you won't be able to go if you're not fully vaccinated. So if you haven't been vaccinated yet, whether you're here or at home, get fully vaccinated in general. You should get fully vaccinated. But my guess is, from what I'm hearing, when they change it back to letting Americans back in and tour groups back in, they will not be letting people in who, again, this is not official Israel policy yet, but I'm hearing this is the direction for this summer tourist season will be you won't be able to get into Israel without being fully vaccinated. And my guess is also that they won't even have room for exceptions because we're going to be on a bus together and all that stuff. So if you haven't started your vaccination process for June, you're going to have to start it now. Because we would want to make sure that you had at least those 2 shots before we leave. Fully vaccinated, though, means 2 full shots and a booster. Okay? So let Israel guide you in the right direction. All right, friends, we're going to conclude with Aleinu and Kaddish, page 586. At home and here, please stand.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית,
שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
On this Shabbat, we remember those of our congregational family whose yahrzeits occur this week. Willard B. Abraham, Rebecca Abramson, Reuben Bernard, Richard Borg, Ralph Bird, Eva Chimmerine, Theodore R. Cohen, Charles Eldheit, Brian Fastenberg, Joseph Feinstein, Lena Finkelman, Michael Allen Foreman, Samuel First, David Glaser, Bernard Goodman, Joseph Green, Samuel Greenswag, Jeanette Hamels, Paul Hochberg, Joseph E. Cantor, Sylvia Cates, Leonard Krell, Marvin Koslow, Beverly Kruglich, Max Lanton, Irvin H. Leva, Herbert Maurer, Dorothy Megeff, David Mitchell, Barbara Vixman Ochner, Alfred Press, Eugene Rose, Maxwell Ross, Carl Rothenberg, Samuel Sachs, Henry Samplin, Diane Sandler, Max Shub, Lawrence Smith, Jerry Sokol, Hannah Stein, Sam Strauss, Molly Turkin, Morris Turkin, Sam Wilf. If anyone online would like to type in the name of a loved one for whom you are observing yahrzeit or for whom you are mourning, please type their names in the description link below on YouTube or in the comment section on Facebook Live at this time. Anyone in our congregation who would like to say out loud the name of a loved one who you are thinking of, either someone whose name I inadvertently mispronounced or someone who is in your hearts, please feel free to say their name at this time.
Alex Polland.
Each Shabbat, our custom is to remember with all of our love the 6 million who perished in the Shoah, including the 1.5 million children who have no one to say Kaddish for them, and the soldiers and civilians of the state of Israel who have given their lives for our Jewish homeland. May all of their souls be bound up in the bonds of eternal life along with all of our loved ones. Mourners Kaddish, 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich machutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'alam u'le'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu. Le'elo min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. V'seh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to those who are grieving, as together we say, amen. We're going to invite everyone at home after our concluding song to get out your wine cups, although maybe you're already on your second glass. And if you have challah at home with your kiddos, feel free to grab that. And we'll sing our final song and then bless the challah and wine.
Oh, say shalom bimroma. Say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'chatzavanu בשבת קודשו מאהבה וחסון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באחווה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת אמן.
L'chaim.
לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. אמן.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.